Welcome back to the Tom Waller podcast. Really excited to have you for this Wednesday episode. As you know, this season of the podcast has taken a little bit of a turn. Less formal interview, more conversations with some of my best friends from across the planet. And today is a longer conversation. Sunday we save for the soul sessions, those shorter snippets, just to wake you up and reinvigorate you at the end or the beginning of the week, however you choose to see it. But today I'm really honored to have a repeat guest on the show, someone who I met the first time years ago. I believe it was in Oxford, England, at the McTimoney Chiropractic conference that was going on there. And from the get-go, I knew this guy. From the get-go, I knew this guy was onto something. And I just in the pre-show we've just been discussing, I've really been inspired by Jim over these last few years, and he continues to be an inspiration to me. And we're going to discuss why. And we've mentioned a bit of it in the pre-show. But Jim Chester, thank you so much for taking your time. I know it's early where you are. Are you in Colorado today?
Yeah, Grand Junction, Colorado.
So it's early over there, and I really appreciate you making the time to join us on the Tom Waller podcast. Thank you.
It's just I'll make any time for you.
I appreciate that, my friend. I'm going to get on a plane when I'm allowed, and we'll really hang out. It'd be awesome. Dude, chiropractic, I really believe has a potential to change the world. And I see chiropractors as people who sometimes, whether they realize it or not, are changing the world, but also frustratingly, like we've spoken about just before the show, have huge potential, but they don't lean into it for some reason. But I want to start off by asking why chiropractic? Because you're not a chiropractor, but you give everything to this profession, like very few chiropractors do. Why chiropractic?
Well, it's a really to really give that question the full answer is I'm 44. 14 years ago I got into chiropractic, working in an office doing traction tech CBP setups, changing people's spines. I had no idea I'd ever do that stuff, man. Previous to that, for 4 straight years, I was working in the live music industry, at bartending at these venues. And I was also I had 2 gigs. I was working at a live music venue, bartending, and the other one was working as a barman at a piano martini bar. So I was doing both these gigs. And I was 30 years old, and this guy was going to chiropractic school. He was my doorman. He's playing rugby at Palmer College, and he said, "Hey, what do you think about coming up and helping me work and run my chiropractic office in Chicago?" I said, "Bro, I don't know anything about chiropractic except for when I get adjusted, I feel better." He said, "That's plenty to know. I'll teach you everything else." So I was at this crossroads of life, and I was really thinking, like, what am I going to dedicate my time and energy and talents to? And it turned out that leap of faith that I took to go up and work in his clinic in Chicago turned into another leap of faith to go out to Colorado and work at another office. And then it took another leap of faith to make a movie on chiropractic, and another leap of faith to go out and do 600 spinal screenings in 2.5 years, and another leap of faith to keep doing that work, where we just went to Alaska and scheduled in over 600 new patients in 2 weeks, and another leap of faith to make another chiropractic film, and another leap of faith to do over 1,100 interviews on chiropractors in 5 years now. So the culmination of why I chose chiropractic was because I believed in it, and so many people weren't. And I looked at it as kind of an underdog story for me, is to like go and take something that nobody else knew how to like really be a champion of, and to really make it my sole mission to turn this into something special.
What is your vision, Jim? Because I know you're on the, like we just spoke before the show, you've been on the road pretty much all year. More time out of your bed than in your bed. Would you say 11,000 interviews? 1,100?
1,100, yeah.
1,100 interviews. I mean, I've been doing podcasts for 5 years and I've got nowhere near that. You're making me feel awful. But you, and that's why you're inspiring, because you just do it. You just do the work. What's your vision with it? What is there an endpoint? Is there a change? Is there a pendulum that you want to see swing? What is it? What motivates you?
Well, initially it was to add more value to the profession in between films. And the initial vision was to create 365 interviews in 365 days, which I accomplished in 2018. And I caught a feeling for it. And my next vision was to put out more chiropractic content than anybody else on planet Earth. And we're slowly still doing that. You know, and it's not just me, before I go on, I have so much credit to give to my team, like I have credit to give to coaches that I've had, inspirations, and the people I've given their countless time to actually book something with me. Like, without the story of the people, my story doesn't matter. And I never made the show to tell my story. I made the show to tell other people's stories. I never wanted to pontificate or think that I was the smartest guy in the room. I wanted to feature the smartest people in the world, and just happened to be chiropractors. So, I was at a seminar a couple weeks ago down in Atlanta, and I met this chiropractic coach, and he has a couple hundred people, I think, that he teaches how to do chiropractic stuff. And he's like, "So, Jim, what's the big vision?" I go, "Well, I'm going to become the most powerful man in chiropractic." And he goes, "That's stupid." I said, "Okay, well, get your popcorn." And he goes, "Well, how are you going to do it?" I go, "Well, it's all through media. Those that control the media control the narrative. And guess what and I said, guess what you're not doing? You're not controlling the media. I am. And I have connections and relationships with the smartest, most powerful people in this profession. Do you? You might, but you're coaching people that need you. So you're filling your gap." I go, "I'm just going to fill the gap and protect the sacred trust," as BJ Palmer would ask on his last words. And that's why at the beginning of my show, I say we protect freedom of speech. We protect the sacred trust. We support subluxation-based chiropractic. We believe that when someone gets adjusted, it connects man, the spiritual, to man, the physical, which is innate and universal intelligence. And I let those things be known, because I really believe that what I just said is the most important part of chiropractic.
100%. 100%. The philosophy is the most important part of chiropractic. If the world took the philosophy on board, even regardless of the adjustment, it would be huge. I remember speaking to, Devin Verana. You know Devin?
Of course.
Yeah. I think, maybe on your show or on her show, or maybe she said it when we were speaking together in Oklahoma. I can't remember. But basically the question was, if you had to take the adjustment or the philosophy, what would you take? It's a philosophy. That's what changes the world. Absolutely. And you're right, like you are. I can't think of a chiropractor who hasn't been on your show, dude. One that I want to hear from anyway. Because there's a lot I don't want to hear from. And do you know how it works? I don't know whether it's the same over there, but here in the UK, there is this regulation and this control of the narrative by just this small little pool of people who do not resonate with the people. And you said perfectly, you said your show is the voice of the people. And that's what needs to get out.
Well, that's why we just keep producing. And that's why the greatest thing that anyone would ever do for us is to listen to the show and share it.
So for those of you who are listening and not looking at Jim's t-shirt on YouTube, the show's Chiro Hustle. Is it on All platforms or any particular?
If you can't find it, let me know.
Yeah, because he dominates.
Because it's, being they call it a category killer when you own a vertical of content. So we're a category killer for chiropractic podcasts. And when you have a space like that and you earn a space like that, it takes a lot of effort to sustain that and to keep that. And that's why coming into the new year, we're going to become a daily show, because I just think, early on, I've been going to this seminar in Denver called Mile High Chiropractic Weekend, and I've gone to every single one of them for a decade. And early on, the first one I went to, I saw this guy named Joe Borio come up on stage, and I saw Tim Young for the first time, and I saw Liam Schubel for the first time, and I saw these guys get up there, and they were like, "Tell the story, tell the story, tell the story." And I'm like, "But you're in an echo chamber, bro. Like, the only people you're telling the story to are the people that are inside this room. That's a disconnect." And I was like, "Well, I'm going to make a movie now." Because I'm going to tell the story to the people that watch documentaries and that hang out on Netflix. And I'm going to tell the story to people that like to watch YouTube. I'm going to tell the story to people on their smartphones. Now I'm going to tell the story to people on their podcast and on YouTube and anywhere they can find content. If they search for chiropractic podcast, they'll find us. So I saw these guys speaking, and it really resonated with me that we needed to tell a story. And I just said, well, I'm just going to tell the story better than anybody else and more frequently. So, when we think about like why, the big why, is because I wanted to do something that mattered and that not a lot of people could do. It's a big mission. And chiropractic is, like you said, what is more important, the philosophy or the art? Well, I think actually the part that we're missing there is the science, because it's a triune. And I think that now we're getting more research papers out. We have more chiropractic research being produced by the likes of Deed Harrison and Heidi Havoc, and really going granular into why, and Dr. Monique Andrews, and we're really finding out like how the somatic experience inside the body is being affected by the adjustment, and how as they say in the medical world, the activities of daily living are improved because of the adjustment in chiropractic. So I think they're all equally important. When the horse wins the race, it's science, philosophy, and art. So it's not one or the other. It's not binary. You can't remove one for the other or from any of it. So that's why when people, are subluxation deniers, or they want to remove the lexicon of innate intelligence, universal intelligence, and they want to say that these are historical reference points, that's fine. They are historical, but not on the grounds of removing them, not on the grounds of not discussing them, and not on the grounds of changing the language. So they can have their approach and their perspective on the language of what chiropractors say and what they believe in. They can even think that, DD and BJ were ready for the loony bin. But I'll tell you one thing, the things that they came to light on make the world a whole lot better place than without it.
So true. And, there is no basis more reliable than my own meandering experience. I love that line from, I think it was the Class of '99. It's a song. It's a great song. And you have these people who would deny these facets of chiropractic, and I love the fact you said that all three need to be in place. You're absolutely right. But those who are denying it, I would just take a look at their lives, take a look at their business. Like, are they healthy people? No. Well, maybe they got the wrong end of the stick there. Have they got a thriving, successful practice? No. Well, maybe they got the wrong end of the stick there, because when you run a business, you're simply providing a service and solving a problem. And you're not going to have a business that's successful if you're not providing a service or solving a problem. So how can you have a thriving practice unless what you do works and the people want it?
Well, here's the thing. You ever hear the old expression, throwing the baby out with the bathwater?
Yeah.
That's what the people in leadership right now are doing for the principle of chiropractic. They're
Yeah.
taking today's gains to sell out the future of this beautiful profession.
Mm.
And that has to stop. So even when I was just a neophyte 9 years ago, working in an office, I caught wind of like they wanted to remove x-rays from chiropractic. I'm like, that's fucking stupid. I'm like, that's like telling somebody that they shouldn't x-ray their teeth. Like, do you think we should stop just x-raying teeth when we go to the dentist and just like, pray and hope that they find like the cavity and that, the dental cleaning went well? Like, no. Well, why would you ever think that was like appropriate for a profession that determines osseous formations of the spine and misalignments? It's lunacy to me that would even be a topic of conversation. And see, that's the thing, is the people have gone so far lopsided on the far end of the spectrum that they're trying to morph reality into something that's not true. And they're removing, they're putting people that are being run by different backing of money. It's not chiropractic money. I can't prove that, but I can, I can think that's has to be. They're taking money from the wrong people, doing agendas inside of chiropractic, trying to destroy chiropractic with removing chiropractic out of it. And here's the thing. I'm not opposed to those people, but they should just stay in their own lane and become medical doctors. And they should stay in their own lane and become physical therapists. They should just stay in their own lane and do anything but chiropractic. Enough said. Like, go over there, do your own thing, but don't come in and infiltrate and start tearing things up from the inside of a beautiful profession that you don't need to be a part of.
And dude, it only happens in our profession. Like you look inside other professions, it doesn't happen. I mean, what's really interesting, like you go on a football field, a soccer field, and pick the ball up and start running with it, and then tackle someone in the middle of the field. They're going to turn around and go, "Get off the football pitch! This is you're trying to play rugby." I'm like, you've got the way you play, but even within that soccer pitch or that rugby pitch, you've got a forward, you've got a back, you've got a winger, you've got a prop, you've got a number 8, you've got a lock. All of these people with different talents who can still play the same game. And that's the beauty of chiropractic, because we have a philosophy which is like the outline of the pitch. We have the science, which is like the rules of the game. And we all have our own art, which helps us play it. And I get insanely frustrated that these people want to try and change chiropractic. But every time I get frustrated, I turn around and I look at the hundreds of thousands of people who've come through my practice whose lives have been changed and just think, well, they're the people. They're the reason. So true.
Well, one of my favorite quotes is by Bob Marley. And he says, "The bad guys never take a day off, so why should I?" And the problem is that they seed these people in and plant them into the profession through leadership. So that's where I was going 9 years ago when I heard they were going to they were trying to take x-ray out of chiropractic. I mean, I could have flipped tables and like broken my toe kicking something just because I was like, this is stupid. Like who, like, where's this coming down from? And I couldn't help but think at that time they're starting to remove chiropractic out of universities, out of the titles. And they're starting to put chiropractic medicine on diplomas. And I'm like, chiropractic's not medicine. Like, why would there be a college that ever go and change their name from a chiropractic university or chiropractic college to a health sciences? What a dumb sellout. And that's what I started to think. And I'm just a guy working in an office doing traction setups. And I'm like, this doesn't even make sense. Like, what are they trying to change the titles of these, like, where people go and become chiropractors from? Wouldn't you be proud to say, I graduated from XYZ chiropractic school, not a health sciences school? And anyways, the real answer to get us to where we're going is you got to remove the people in false leadership. You got to go back in, and guys like you and other colleagues of yours that have some resonance with protecting the sacred trust, we need them to go back and become college leaders. We need them to go in and take the helm of these universities and start winning back the ground that's been slowly lost. And we need to go back in and reestablish leadership at these universities. And that's really how you got to take the profession back, is go back in and become more political. And how do you become political? You have to take over the education institutions. And what's happened is they've been picked off one by the medical establishment to start changing the narrative from the poor leadership. And that's the answer of how you have to go clean house.
So true. I mean, there's a group brewing here that's going to change things quite a bit. But I don't know whether you know, I used to be the vice president of the UCA, so the Vitalistic Association here in the UK. But because I stuck up for chiropractic, and because I vocally, told the truth around the time of the start of COVID, the board didn't want me on there anymore.
Imagine
the board
that
stands for vitalism.
Imagine that.
The chiropractors have lost their backbone.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, I think now is the time, especially with what's going on in the world. People are starting to step up and speak more. The public, the people, like we've spoken about already, want the truth. They want something different, which chiropractic offers. And I think it's just great that these avenues exist, and what you're doing to really put it out there.
There's a little one-liner inside of one of my notes here on my phone. I have so many of them. Let me see if I can find it quickly. Oh gosh. But as I look for this, there's something. Where is it? I take massive notes on my phone just so I don't forget stuff. And sometimes I pack stuff into so many different little anyways, the main message behind it is the past couple years it's been like a medical theater. So they just take in all of us and made us play inside of this medical science. I don't even know how to say the word psyop. Like, they've made us be a part of this medical charade theater where we've all had to play whether we want to or not. And that's why when people say the C word, it won't come out of my lips, because I think, there's a movie out there that was called Plandemic, which, is really far to the other end of the spectrum, which I think everybody should find enough information to become educated. But I also think that it was, as some of the people inside of my inner circle, they'll call it the scamdemic. So I think we have been scammed. I think it was planned. So I like to tell people, I believe that throughout this medical theater that we had to all play a part of, that there is a plandemic inside of the scamdemic, or vice versa. Like, you can't have one without the other. There had to be a plan, and they scammed us, and it was a big medical theater. And now what's at stake? Well, the ruin of hundreds of millions of lives. And that's the problem, is we've all become sequestered into this global game. This theater. It was at the grocery stores. It was on the television. It was down the line. Every aspect of our existence was affected. My mother passed away. I couldn't go to have a proper funeral for her. My brother passed away. I couldn't go have a proper funeral for him. They removed people's freedoms from them quickly. They told us to be afraid of something we couldn't see. And they instilled fear into every single one of us. There wasn't a person that wasn't psychologically tormented, physically sick. For what?
Mm-hmm.
And what happened is your leadership position was dismissed from a bunch of people that were overriding with fear of truth.
Mm.
And when you remove the person with the biggest truth, then they can create their own little narratives that don't have a pushback. And that's the problem with the people that take these leadership positions, is they can all be bought.
I think most people have their price, and those who succeed are the ones who don't. Um, and I think the reason it annoys chiropractic so much these last few years is because chiropractic is first and foremost a philosophy, science, and art of things natural, and we understand that whatever the C thing is, well, may not be natural, but the way the body deals with that is natural, and it can. And I mean, to this day, I still haven't had it. Never had anything put in my arm to stop it. And I've been working with hundreds, if not thousands, of people over those years. Well, thousands. So for the chiropractor who's out there, because we were talking about a little bit about this before the show, and I'd love to get your input because you are someone who, if you say you're going to achieve something, you actually do it. You're like, I'm going to do this, and then I just wait and I watch you, and then like 6 months, 12 months later, you've done it. For the chiropractor out there who isn't succeeding, who isn't doing what as well as they could, or is struggling, what's the thing they think they need to change? What's the approach they need to have? What do they need to inspect? Because I help a lot of chiropractors with my coaching, but I struggle to see why a chiropractor would be struggling. But me and you see the world quite differently to most people, I think. What is the thing they need to look at or change, do you think?
Well, it's a very broad spectrum, so I'm going to go narrow gauge. Be self-responsible. I always tell people when I teach to start podcasts, ever think about the first 10 episodes, think about the first 100 episodes, because that means you've at least made it 2 years in the game. Chiropractors are a lot like small businesses. They have the same fail rate. So study failing. Understand the trends of failure, and don't be on the other end of the spectrum when it comes to the one that failed. I think that that's really sobering to people. And just know that the person that finishes last in their class when they become chiropractors is still a chiropractor. And those are the ones that usually perform better, because it's not about how well you cheated on a test to become a doctor. It's how well did you struggle through to become the doctor. And that's the real grit. That's the real truth. Because if I were to line up 10 chiropractors and just ask them, did you ever cheat on a exam? Did you ever take any performance enhancing substance to pass an exam? It would be quite the mix. And I think when it comes down to it, is tell yourself the truth. And I think that that's the big thing to take in consideration, because I know this profession from the guts, and I know it also from the highs. And I've talked to every person, like you said, that was notable to reach out to have on a show, and it's still going to keep going. But if a chiropractor wants to actually make it in this life, think about what your North Star is. Do you really want to be a chiropractor? And if so, be the best. And not for the ego's purpose, but for the people you serve's purpose. And do you want to see 600 people a week? You can. Do you want to travel around to people's homes and adjust them in their homes and see 50 people a week? You can. Do you want to adjust equine and take care of horses? You can. Do you want to take care of babies only and have a children practice? you can do that too. So become really talented at what you want to do. Do you only want to adjust 2 bones in the neck? Well, you can do that too, but don't tell everybody else that does it differently that they suck.
Mm-hmm.
And do you want to do full spine and do flying sevens? Well, do that damn well. But don't be a snob about what other people do when they want to adjust differently than you. I think that's another thing that's going to take chiropractic to the next level. They have to be more unified and less, I do it this way and you do it that way, so you're wrong. That's dumb. And support your brother and sister in the mission, because that's what's going to take chiropractic more unified and strong and better leaders. And you have to be self-responsible. So I know I said a mouthful there, but I think everything really matters that I say. And I really don't, I might not know how to say every word in its correct pronunciation, but I don't waste words. And I think when people really consider what we're doing over here at Chiro Hustle, it was never about me. It was about everybody else. I just have to take care of myself to the top level to where I can set a standard. And I think that that's what everyone should do in this profession, is set their own standard and stand in the gap. But in the gap, you get a lot of wind. You get heavy rushing water, and it doesn't always feel good. And I think that most people try to do stuff that feels good. I think people just don't understand that when you have a profession in chiropractic, that a lot of the things you do, you're against the opposition. They will not feel good.
I love it. Self-responsibility and strive to be the best. It's it. That's it. Jim, so you said Chiro Hustle is going to be a weekly show. What can we expect from Chiro Hustle?
Well, I'm bringing on another team member. I'm actually doing personality studies for each person on the team. So we're going to study everyone's face and everyone's body type. And we're going to find out what's best for each person on the team to be contributing. And then I'm going to bring someone on that all they do is book shows and manage assets for me, getting bios and headshots, and making sure that the links are sent out to where when we have a show, that when somebody gets interviewed, we send them out their mastered audio and video and their edited image. So that goes out, and then we send people a gift, which is the 2 documentaries that we made. We send those out. And then if people want to work with us as a business, we do chiropractic marketing and ads. We give people the opportunity to work with us too. So I'm going to have somebody managing all that, because I do a lot of that stuff. So I want to find out what our sole genius is for each team member, so we can best utilize our efforts the best. But the real thing that I've been wanting to do for years now is to do monthly groups. Like we'll do a month of people who have been practicing for over 40 years. Do a month of people in chiropractic school. Do a month of international chiropractors. Do a month of pediatric chiropractors. Do a month of these subsets. Science, chiropractic science, chiropractic philosophers, do different like sub tracks of chiropractic under one, mission, is to honor the chiropractic story. So I think we'll get a bit more narrow gauged with our approach. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun for us, because it'll probably have a boost in viewership and listeners, because it's going to be categorized into, programming that people can, oh, wow, they're going to be talking about this for a month. Women chiropractors, I think that there's a lot there. So, I'm just going to start segmenting down our programming to where I don't know when that will happen. But we're going to bring on this new person that's going to help us organize more. And then I'll go to, instead of just doing 5 interviews on Tuesdays, I'll do 4 on Tuesday and 4 on Wednesday every week. And the funny thing is, Tom, when I meet somebody out at an event that doesn't know me, I'll say, hey, Do you know who Joe Rogan is? They're like, yeah. I'm like, well, I'm that guy for chiropractic. Nice to meet you.
I love it, dude. I love it. And you are. You really are. My man. So people want to find out more about you, Chiro Hustle. We'll put some links in the show notes. Is there anything you want to leave our audience with today, dude?
Well, I think we should tell them the story that I shared with you off camera, which
Yeah.
was about the blind hiker. And out here in Colorado where I live, I've been out here 11 years now, and I've done 14,000 foot peaks. And it was about 6 years ago. I was going up, I believe it's called Mount Democrat or Mount Quandary, one of the two. And I hear this. And it's quiet up there, okay? There's no sound pollution. There's only a handful of people that are up on this side of this rock face that are going up to the top of the peak of just the most magnificent mountains you've ever seen in the Rockies. And I'm sure there's other ranges with magnificent mountains, but I live in Colorado, so these are magnificent to me, and I get a chance to have them in my backyard. So I hear this sound, and I look back, and there's a blind man with his little walking stick, and he had a guide taking him up. And it just really inspired me to always tell the blind man story, because, you know, you and I, we have our faculties, we have our motor skills, we have our brains and bodies that are connected and work. Everything works. And just to show that a man with no sight can still have vision. And anybody out there that listens to this up to this point and they feel like there's something missing in their life, just have a big vision, even if you don't have any sight. And the world gets much better when you work hard. And you might need a guide. And I think that that's a part too, is don't be stubborn. And you asked me earlier on, well, like, what thing has changed in me? Like, how did I up level over the past couple of years? And it's my resonance with God. I don't walk alone. And I think that people that don't have God in their life, they walk around exposed and vulnerable. And I really believe that because of my reconnection with spirituality and God, that that's why I've been seeing the blessings that I have. And I just want to impress upon everyone else to have vision and find God. And if you find those two things, as one of the famous football clubs in England says, you'll never walk alone.
My man, you're well traveled. Jim, thank you very much for your time today. I really appreciate it. I can't wait to hook up with you again soon. Fortunately, I couldn't get out to the States this year for obvious reasons. But hopefully they'll drop that and I'll be over soon enough. And if you're ever over this way, dude, then let me know if you're in Europe soon.
Yeah, I plan on coming to Chiro, Europe next fall.
Sweet. Yeah, I'm looking at that as well. So I know my team are going, my associates are definitely going. So yeah.
I've never done one.
It's good, man. It's really good. It's really good.
Well, thank you for spending some time with me on your evening and my morning.
Thanks, brother. Yeah, well, we make it happen. You have a good one, Jim. I'll speak to you soon, buddy.
It's a pleasure always.